So this is just a quick video to discuss today's weigh-in between Hughie Fury and Joseph Parker. I guess we have to start by talking about the conflict, so we say, between the two teams. Hughie Fury came out to the scales and he looked pumped. You know, when he came out to the scales, he was talking, he was making noises. And then when Parker came out and when they were having the stare down, Hughie Fury, who seems to have been a respectful fighter during fight week, you know, there's been handshakes, there's been friendly conversations. You know, he started talking in Parker's face, he started prodding Parker with his fingers, and then he pushed Parker quite aggressively. Now, I think I've watched all of Hughie Fury's professional fights, and I've watched him do multiple interviews beforehand and post fights. I've also met him in person, and I would say, in my experience, historically, Hughie Fury has been a very quiet, very mild-mannered, very respectful kind of guy. Now, what we saw today was very out of the norm from Hughie Fury. I've never seen him that hyped, I've never seen him that aggressive, and I've never seen him, you know, I guess you could say disrespectful to an opponent before. Perhaps that's the big occasion, you know, perhaps this is the first fight where he's been in where he hasn't been a substantial favourite. In fact, I believe with our bookmakers he's actually an underdog for this fight. So, I mean, looking into that, you can read one of two things. I think the first thing you can read is, you know, that Hughie Fury's rattled. You could say that this is a fight where he maybe isn't expected to win. This is a fight which is a big contest, a big scene, you know, a world heavyweight title fight, the biggest opportunity of his career, headlining a big bill. Is he rattled? You know, is he behaving differently because, you know, of what a big stage this is for him, and, you know, this is his big opportunity to get a version of the world heavyweight title. The second way you could look at it is this a way of trying to sell tickets and sell pay-per-views? You know, there's been a lot of talk about the promotion for this fight. There's been a lot of suggestion that the promotion has slightly flown under the radar and that ticket sales haven't been great. You know, this week we've seen David Higgins, Parker's promoter, interrupting a press conference in WWE style. I actually saw an interview after that event where he said, I'm sure that helped sell a few tickets. Now we've seen some WWE style antics, some beef at the weigh-in between the two guys. So part of me wonders, was it orchestrated? You know, was this an attempt to add a bit of fire to the matchup and to create some hype and some conflict between the two sides? I don't know. I think those would be the two logical conclusions. One, that it's an orchestrated beef, or two, that Hughie Fury's rattled. But one thing I will say is this is very out of the norm for Hughie Fury. As I say, a very respectful guy, and he pushed Parker aggressively. You know, he was very vocal in the press conference, and then there was a bit of a melee between the two teams, much of a muchness. You know, I saw Clifton Mitchell and some of the Furies getting sucked in, but it was all, you know, there weren't punches thrown and that sort of stuff. I also noticed there was an even more heated confrontation in the Peter McDonough Singleton fight, which is on the undercard, where the two guys really went at each other, and Peter McDonough appeared to sort of grab his opponent by the throat and push him back, and then Singleton charged at him. So I don't know. I mean, I know there's been some tension between those two in the build-up, but you know, you do just wonder if maybe they're trying to create a bit more hype around the bill by getting some viral videos the day before, where some of the guys fighting are going at each other. But anyway, let's put that to the side. Let's talk about the two guys. Hughie weighed in, I think he weighed in 16 stone 10. which I believe is around 235, somewhere in that territory. And not dissimilar weight that we've seen from Hughie in previous performances. It is on the heavier side of the way he weighs into fights, but that's not a surprise. Hughie Fury's 23. He's a massive guy. He's got a big frame. I mean, you'll notice that he had a substantial height advantage over Joseph Parker in this stare down, at least 2 inches for me. So Hughie's a big guy. He's got a big frame. At the age of 22, 23, it's not a surprise to see him still growing out and see him still filling out physically. So, you know, the fact that he's weighed in there, it doesn't concern me. I did notice a few comments that he didn't look in the best shape. I think when it comes to the way you're conditioned, you know, your abdominal muscles and your biceps, a lot of that comes down to genetics. I mean, if you look at the Furies, look at Tyson Fury, for example. We know there's been times where he's been in tremendous physical condition. When he fought Vladimir Klitschko and fought 12 solid rounds on the back foot, having to move laterally for the entire fight. You know, he was in great physical condition. The Furies just aren't people who are genetically in line with bodybuilding physiques. These are not guys who are going to have huge chests, huge biceps, ripped out six packs. That's kind of not the way their bodies look. So yeah, Hughie Fury weighed in looking like he had a little bit of fat on him, not looking the most ripped out muscular heavyweight you're ever going to see. But I think that's what I expect now when I see the Furies weigh in, and I personally don't take that as a sign that there's anything wrong. Look, if an Anthony Joshua or I'm trying to think who else is a very muscular heavyweight, you know, if an Anthony Joshua or a Deontay Wilder weighed in looking like that, it's so against the way they normally weigh in, you'd think there's something wrong. But with Hughie Fury, that's kind of the norm, and it's not a surprise for me as he's growing older that he is getting a little bit more heavier and a bit more heavy set. Joseph Parker, he weighed in at a similar weight to what we've seen him in the past. I believe he was 17 stone 7, which, what's that? That's around 245 pounds, somewhere in that sort of realm for this fight. Parker, he looked a bit soft on the scales to me, but then again, not dissimilar condition to how we've seen him in other weigh-ins. So I guess my comments around Hughie Fury is similar for Parker in the sense that, yeah, Parker's not necessarily doing anything different for this fight. He's just weighing in as he normally weighs in. I had seen some commentary on the lead up to this fight that Parker was going to come in slightly lighter. And do you know what? I thought that would be beneficial to his chances to be slightly lighter in this fight. I think he's going to have to be chasing Hughie Fury in this fight. I think he's going to have to be mobile. He's going to be agile. He's going to have to be fast. And I think he's going to have a very, very good gas tank. I've speculated on previous Parker fights that I actually think he's a better fighter, a slightly more explosive fighter when he weighs in slightly lighter. If we look back at Joseph Parker's career, I believe his weights as he's weighed in have varied fairly dramatically by 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds over the course of his career. Now obviously, like Hughie Fury, he's a young heavyweight, he's only 25, so the same comments I made from Hughie are you know, valid when it comes to Joseph Parker, that if you're a big guy, if you're a heavyweight, as you get older, as you move from 21 to 23 and 23 to 25, you are naturally going to become a bit more heavy set and a bit more powerful. But I do just wonder if 245 or 240 is the ideal weight for a guy like Joseph Parker. I think he'd be a bit better at 235, and looking at him physically, you wonder if there was a little bit more weight that could come off. I just think he'd be a more explosive, more dynamic, faster guy, and you never know if this becomes a tough fight, if he's got to show stamina and chase an opponent in rounds 10, 11 and 12, perhaps you'd think to yourself he'd be better off coming in 5 pounds lighter. But all in all, good weigh-in. Both guys have turned up in similar weight and similar condition to what we've seen in some of their previous fights. Both guys looked well in themselves. Parker, for me, looked cool, calm, collected. I actually thought Parker held himself fairly well in this press conference. You know, Hughie Fury pushed him and there was a lot of noise from the crowd, who were a pro-Fury crowd, but Parker kept himself composed and, you know, kept himself professional. So I give him some credit for that. You know, he didn't lose his rag and, you know, he didn't lose his rag and lose his cool. As for Hughie, my gut instinct is that he was you know, looking to generate some hype around the fight by being so vocal and being a bit more aggressive and pushing his opponent today. But there will be people out there who think that the occasion's got to him more, that Parker's got in his head. And I can see why, because you do tend to think that when someone acts in a way that's just very untypical of their historical behaviour. But it's a very good fight. It's very close now. I'm very much looking forward to it. I still find it an evenly matched contest, and I don't pick a winner with ease. For you guys who want to see my full prediction, it's up on the channel. I think I uploaded it 6 or 7 days ago, so if you go through my videos and scroll back just a little bit, you'll come across it. There's a full extended breakdown with a fight prediction, so please do check that out. I'll be doing a post-fight review tomorrow. I'm meeting up with my brother tomorrow, so I may try and do a bit of a live chat with him on board maybe, and do some discussions on this fight and some of the other major news in boxing. So if that's of interest and you haven't done so before, please hit subscribe. Please also hit the notification button next to subscribe. There's a little bell next to the subscribe button, and you can click on that to get notified when I upload new stuff. So please click on that. And as always, hit the thumbs up button, give us a follow on Twitter at Boxing Gossip, and enjoy the fights, guys. Thanks for tuning in as always.